What's up, everyone? This is your boy Hstlgod, and I am here today with Chris Roy. Welcome to the 4th episode of Cloutfinder. So, how are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for coming out. I know you're a very busy man. So, for everyone out here, let me just give you a little background on Chris, and then I'm gonna let him, go in detail on what he does himself. So, Chris is a great event thrower. He also owns a couple of businesses where he rents out different properties or luxury cars to different people if you're going to make a video or have an event. And so I'm excited to have Chris here because he does a lot of the behind the scenes work that makes content and creative things and projects go. So Chris, I'll let you kind of go in more on what you do and let the people know who you are.
For sure. So I'm Chris Roy. I run the Lifestyle Entertainment Group, which is a full-service creative agency. We provide entertainment resources to the Los Angeles area and across the nation. Have several clients in the music and culture and entertainment space. And we provide venues, spaces, luxury homes, transportation resources. So pretty much a professional operating system for the fun things that you want to do in your life would be how I would describe my business.
Okay, awesome. So let's just dive into that. Chris, how did you even get into this business?
For me, I've been an event producer since college. So I've been producing events over 15 years. And so we started out, producing events to pay the rent. We had a roommate that happened to be a DJ. He never had his rent money. So we always threw rent parties to kind of cover the difference. And then it just kind of ballooned and blossomed from there. Produced a lot of major events at Hampton University. Did some massive Black college spring break events in Miami. Always worked a corporate job, but always did events. In tandem with that, I had the cool experience of going to college at Morehouse in Atlanta and also going to college at Hampton. So I have a very unique and extensive network, from, the Atlanta network to the DC, Maryland, Virginia network. And it's helped me out tremendously in my career pursuits on the entertainment side. I've also worked in corporate sales and done brand marketing and worked in television. So that kind of helped shape my skills and taught me how to tell stories and produce content and market on a very high level, which I've all funneled into the business that I run today.
Okay, awesome. And so from everything you do, what has been, I guess, one of the keys to your success or your journey so far and you becoming who you are today?
I think one of the keys to my success has been the ability to connect with people on all levels and communicate and build genuine relationships. In a world where everybody wants something, everybody wants to figure out, who you are, what you do, what you can do for them, especially in an LA atmosphere. It helps to really understand people, build genuine relationships, and let things align organically. You know what I mean? And I'm big on that. I'm big on building a rapport with somebody, finding out what they do, and, keeping them in the Rolodex, whatever the case may be, so that when an opportunity aligns that makes sense for them based on their skill set, then we can connect. I'm not about, forcing anything, and also, letting the work speak for itself. A lot of people say they do this or that, but, look at someone's resume, look what someone's about, look at their body of work, and that will really, show you what they do. And for me, the work is always, spoken for itself and provided opportunities for me to, just share my story and my experience.
Okay, awesome. And so one thing about throwing events, I actually started throwing events myself when I was about 14, 15 years old. So I have some background in that myself, is that it takes a lot of moving pieces to bring an event together. And so with that, a big piece of that is the entertainment, and from, the DJs to the hosts to performers or, photographers, just a lot of different moving aspects. And those are a lot of the people who pay attention to this channel. So when you are throwing events, how do you find like the different people who you're going to plug in, whether it is the DJ or the host or, you know, performer, to work for you? And how do people like that get the attentions of people like yourselves?
So for me, outside of producing events, I love culture. I love to go out. I love to listen to live music. I'm on the scene. I'm tapped in. I know what's going on. So if it's a situation where, you know, you're out somewhere, you're doing your thing, you're DJing, you're in an environment that I've never been in, or, you know, I catch you, you know, hosting a party or something. Typically, I'll reach out to you, or people will connect with me and just build a relationship. You know what I mean? And so, for example, I'll give you an example of Mass Appeal and Kyron Shank, the two guys that were DJing and MCing when we connected. These are two great dope young brothers in the city that are doing their thing. They ended up hosting and DJing a club called Ballet that I also promoted at. And so I connected with them organically and just built a relationship. And so it was a situation where, you know, I saw them DJing, they had a positive attitude, good energy, and we just stayed tapped in on just a friendship level, you know. So they always invited me to stuff. Hey, bro, I got this going on. We got this going on. Check it out. So as opposed to, you know, badgering me for an opportunity, they more so just allowed me to see what they were doing. And then when the opportunity presented itself, we connected on business. Because the thing is, like, I have a lot of things going on in terms of a lot of events and a lot of things that I can place people in positions for. But I love to see people working on their own and doing their own thing and creating their own ways, so that when I connect with them, it's enhancing something or adding something to it, but I have a solid foundation in the space that I'm in. And I think that anybody that's doing something should always look to have a solid foundation in their arena as they look to, you know, expand their market and add value to someone else's arena.
Okay, you touched on a lot of different, you know, very important things in that, you know, that soundbite right there. And so and let me try to summarize and let me know if I heard you correctly, okay? So you're saying that if you're going to connect with people, you like to connect with people who are go-getters, who whatever you do, you're already out there in the world trying to make it happen, trying to do things, and then as you move through the world and through your networks, you're always looking for people who are grinding and, you know, trying to push themselves forward.
Most definitely. And, you know, so that's part of it. And then the other part is making sure that the work you're doing is tight, because, you know, desire is only half the battle. You have to be good at your craft as well. You know what I mean? And especially in a market like Los Angeles, which is pretty much, in my opinion, is like modern day Rome. So everybody that lives here was the man or woman wherever they were from. You know what I mean? And so, you know, you're with the best of the best. And so you have to be able to find ways to stand out and differentiate yourself from the crowd, and not just necessarily be a Mr. Me Too, or, hey, you do this, so do I. But you have to figure out a way to make yourself different in the marketplace. And I think that that's very important in, you know, finding opportunities and finding people that want to work with you.
Okay. So say, you know, you're perfecting your craft and you're also, you know, you're out there, you're making things happen, and you want to take things up a notch for just getting on the business side of things. Like maybe it is, you know, throwing events in your hometown, or wanting to be able to have contacts to rent luxury things or luxury vehicles or luxury apartments or luxury mansions out to other people, and somehow build that on top of what you're already doing. Where would be the best place to start?
I think the best place to start when you're looking to, you know, elevate, you know, your game in any arena that you're in, is you want to find somebody that's in that space, that's doing what you want to do, and connect to them. And the thing about it is, you know, the initial connection could be, you just may want to follow their social media profiles and see how they're moving and see the things they're involved in. The next step, maybe you may want to find a way to, you know, go to something that they're doing and support and try to build a rapport relationship. At the end of the day, you have to study the people that are on the level that you want to be on, you know, and also, you know, there's YouTube, there are books, there are podcasts. So, you know, some of the mentors that I have, or that I had before I met them in the physical, were people that I followed on social media, or books that I read, or things that I watched that gave me the knowledge and insight that I needed to create the vision that I wanted to create for myself. And so I think that the key is, you know, you got to have a benchmark. And once you have that, you know, you work to that effect to make sure that your work mirrors, you know, the level that person is. And when the work is done at a certain level, those dots will align, and two things will happen. Either there'll be collaboration or there'll be competition, and both are amazing. You know what I mean? Because if it's competition, it means that you're doing something so well that you're making the person that you aspire to be like uncomfortable, which is a great thing. You know what I mean? You're doing something right. The other thing is they may reach out to you and love what you're doing and want to collaborate. So both of these are opportunities for growth. And so you just have to see things the right way. You know what I mean? At all times, whether, you get a positive response for the person or whether you get a defensive response, you notice you're moving in the right way. Or even if you get some constructive criticism and you're not quite where you need to be yet, take that on stride and just keep adding layers to your game until you get where you need to go. And I think that applies across the board, no matter what discipline you're in.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So basically mentors are key, and they can be physical, they can be digital, but if you want to start something, you want to find people who are doing what you're doing on a higher level than you, where you aspire to be, so you can, benchmark them and then, build on top of what you can learn from them.
100%.
Okay.
You can learn from them and then figure out how to make it your own. Figure out how to make it original. Because the key is, a template is only a template. What makes you special and what makes you stand out is whatever your own special sauce is and how you do something. You know what I mean? And so I think that both of those things are very important in finding your own lane.
Got you. It's like you're baking a cake and you're following the recipe in the book, but you have to find a way to add your own icing on top, or maybe dash a little cinnamon into the recipe because it'll give it a little bit of a different flavor, just so people can know this is from you.
100%.
Okay.
That's very important. Very important in any line of business, especially the creative fields, especially, your music. And if you're a DJ, if you're an artist, if you're an event curator, you don't want to be a carbon copy of something that's already dope that exists. You got to find out how to make it your own, because otherwise people would just go to that. The goal is not to be, we've all seen coming to America. You don't want to be McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what you want to do. You're not trying to hijack McDonald's, but you kind of want to take it to the next level. And so I think that's important.
Okay. So sticking on these mentors and kind of making it personal, who are some of your mentors that inspired you along your journey?
So some people that inspired me along my journey in terms of, creating a business through entertainment and through lifestyle was Kenny Burns. Kenny Burns is a really dope. He's the original lifestyle specialist. Super creative guy. Big background in nightlife and entertainment. Was an MC. Built the Atlanta, nightlife scene as far as Black people go. Very elite liquor partnerships, all types of stuff. So for me, Kenny was somebody that I've always looked up to in terms of his grind and what he does. And then I was fortunate enough to work with him at Revolt. And so it became a situation where literally somebody that, I came up aspiring to want to be on that level, and then working with that person and being able to build ideas with this person and get inspired and know things can align when you put the work in. You know what I mean? And so he's somebody that I look up to in the entertainment space. There are other people, on a real estate level that I think are, phenomenal and amazing. Different peers that I have that do a lot with investment properties. I have a friend named Leo that I went to college with who owns 20 properties in Chicago. You know what I mean? And, we're the same age, and literally, he's impressed with the space that I'm in entertainment, but I'm so impressed with his ability to take over the real estate market, and be a young Black dude doing his thing in that space. So I feel like we can be inspired in multiple directions. And just because we're inspiring somebody in one space doesn't mean that we can't learn and be inspired from them in another space. And so those are two examples of two people that I think are really dope and great at what they do that I've, learned from afar and also learned from personally.
Okay, so everyone listening, Kenny Burns is someone you should be, looking up. You should take a note down this interview right now. So once you're done listening to this, you can do some research and follow up. That's one thing I'm going to do after this, interview personally myself. So I just wanted to drop that in there for people to know. You have to be humble aggressively so you can learn. And so, cool. So you have some people you've templated yourself out off of to learn and build to where you are. Where do you want to go from here? Like, what's next for Chris Roy?
So for me, I've been a great asset to building a lot of platforms, adding value to a lot of venues, clubs, establishments, networks, um, you know, people in the real estate space. So my goal at this point is to own every aspect of what I touched. So to own every piece of the vertical integration in what I do. So if we're creating content, I want to own a studio, and own every aspect of that content process. If, we're providing entertainment, I want to own a hospitality group. That means hotel, restaurant, nightclub, the whole chain. You know what I mean? Think of Tao Group, Black owned. You know what I mean? So these are the mindsets that I'm thinking, because at the end of the day, um, Black people are the most entertaining people in the world. We provide so much value in sports and music and culture and entertainment. But a lot of the places that we provide value to, they lease to us and give us only pennies on the dollar. My ultimate goal is to own the whole thing. You know what I mean? And once we own the whole thing, we can control our narrative. And so that's what it's all about for me.
Okay, I got you. And so I always have a metaphor in my head, especially from when I came to LA, where it's like I'm building a house. You know what I mean? From scratch. And, at the beginning, I'm paying my dues, and I'm digging the basement, and now I got my hole, and people walking by and they're like, oh, you just got a hole, but then you put in the cement, then you put in the foundation. And I think that's what I'm hearing when you say owning things from a vertical perspective of you control everything that's going on in your world. So once that's done, once that house is built, you can, invite people into your home and provide opportunities for people, but also you can control how everything flows. So you're profiting properly, but you're also being fair to the people you're collaborating with.
Indeed, I think that's important. I think that as we build, and just like, you're always going to look up to people that are on a different level to get inspiration and get guidance. You also have to reach down and help people get on the level that you're on. And I think it's always a process everywhere we go in life. We're always evolving, and as we're evolving, we're always, the goal is to help people evolve as well. And so being able to control the resources and provide resources for other people to come into an environment where they can grow, I think is very important, because these opportunities have not always been available to us, and they've not been ample if they have been available to us. You may have been the only dope Black person in a room or in this school or in this atmosphere, as opposed to us being the only in certain spaces. I want us to consume and be a part of the space to the point where we can organically just feel good about just being unapologetically us, and knowing that that's amazing, and it's not something that can just take place in DC or Atlanta, but it's available to us everywhere.
Okay, got you. And so along with, knowing that you're dope and being able to build, knowing that you don't have, but you want to in the future, how has, I guess morals and character played a role in your dealings as you progress and build your name? Because that's a huge thing in this industry where a lot of shady stuff can go down.
I think that the key to that is you got to have a strong spiritual foundation. And for me, as a Christian, my balance is always, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and just keeping that alignment spiritually. I attend one church, and I attend a few other places out here in LA that have just helped keep me grounded spiritually, to the point where I don't exaggerate my highs and I don't exaggerate my lows. You got to know what's real, because LA can hype you up to a space that where you'll get beyond yourself, or can try to box you in and put you in a certain space where you don't value yourself as much. And so I think that when your value comes from the Most High, and you have an understanding of self, and you know what's real, it allows you to stay grounded, and it allows you to navigate certain spaces that may be weird. I feel like LA is a very inviting city, and because it's so inviting, you can walk right into a blessing, you can walk right into something that can destroy you, and then you got to have a level of discernment in how you're moving and what you're doing, and that'll allow you to stay on the right path, so that when you have these opportunities and you're doing things, nobody can say, yo, this person compromised himself to get to this place. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, whatever you bow down to get to that level that you're in, you're always going to have to bow down to that to maintain it. And so if you move the right way and you move with integrity, you don't ever have to worry about those issues. It may take you a little longer to get where you're going, but when you get there, we talked about this before, you'll have a solid foundation in integrity and in being a stand-up person, so that, when the storm comes, when, somebody tries to shake that foundation, it's not going nowhere because you're solid. But if you build, a reputation of moving crazy, when the pressure comes, you're gonna fold. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the key. You know what I mean? And that is, that's gonna allow you to do things on all layers of life, but it's so important here in LA.
Yo, that is so crazy that you say that, just from having your spiritual foundation and being in touch with the creator. I go to one church myself personally, and my last guest, Candace, who's, a reality TV star on MTV, she goes to one church as well. So it's funny how that plug or that connection is there. And there's one thing you said I really want to touch on. 2 episodes ago, I had Writer Boy on, and he's the producer, director, and one of the businessmen behind a lot of influencers like King Vader, Official Taz, Irvin, and just a lot of people out there. And he was saying that being tapped into the creator is not only his source, but his guiding light. So I love to go into this God spirituality topic whenever it comes up. How has that, played a role in just defining who you are?
I think that, like you said, the guiding light, I use the principle of a GPS, man. I think that, you got to stay connected to God. You got to pray. You got to sacrifice. And you do those three things, it's going to always put you where you need to go. You know what I mean? The connection first and foremost, and then praying just to get the guidance and just to be centered and just to meditate and know that, if, your outside world is not what you want it to be, you can find peace within and then manifest what you want within on the outside. You know what I mean? And I think that sacrifice of knowing when to stay up late and when to put the work in and when not to do certain things and when to do certain things and to step outside of your comfort zone. I think those three things are key to really leveling up and getting where you need to go. Because no growth comes when you're comfortable. You know what I mean? And sometimes complacency is just as bad as not being focused. You know what I mean? And so I think that you always want to try to push yourself to constantly evolve. And redefine that, and always, look at things from a different perspective. And I think that perspective always comes from, the Most High, which is going to allow you to see the world the right way.
Okay, that is awesome. So even when your outside world is not where you want to be, you have that inner peace. I love that.
Like, I mean, we're what is this, election day? People are a little nervous right now. The world is kind of getting riled up. For me, bro, I'm chilling. I'm on vacation. I might as well be in Hawaii in my head. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not worried. And a lot of that comes from, again, that inner peace, and it comes from being able to tap in. And even though we all haven't been able to get together in terms of, at church and the physical, I've been tapped in on the podcast and on YouTube, and the same way we're connecting. You gotta keep that going. You know what I mean? And I think that when you're tapped in like that, I don't care who the president is, man. You know what I'm saying? I know who I serve at the end of the day, and I know that regardless of what, we're gonna be all right. You know what I mean? Even though, we prefer things to go a certain way, at the end of the day, the man upstairs is always in control. And as long as we understand that, we can have a bit of peace as we move through this world.
Okay. That's profound right there. And I guess one more question on this subject, because we can have that relationship with God or, the creator, whatever your spiritual background is. And, we can be progressing along our mission, and, you get knocked down sometimes because obstacles hit you, and you can be thrown off your center or thrown off your inner peace, or, because we're all human, we're all imperfect creatures. So when we find ourselves in that position, in your opinion, how do you start to get back on track to get to, so you can still move forward to where you need to go?
habits. Life is gonna happen. Um, Regardless of how much you plan, uh, you know, and try to make everything perfect and stay on point, life is gonna happen. But when you have good habits and your habits become a lifestyle, and your lifestyle becomes, you know, muscle memory, you know, you can create something in an environment spiritually and physically where, you know, you can fall off your game and you can have a bad day, but just because you have a bad day doesn't mean you're gonna have a bad month. And just because you have a bad month doesn't mean you're gonna have a bad year. And just because it's a bad moment doesn't mean that that moment is not preparing you for the next blessing. You know, at the end of the day, um, when we're up, you know, we're being tested just as much as when we're down. And when we're down, it builds a certain level of character. Similar to yoga, you're being stretched. And so in order to be more flexible the next time you play sports, the next time you do something, you gotta go through a little something. So you just have to see it the right way. You know what I mean? If you're going through some trouble, know it's a blessing on the other side of that. The reason you're under pressure, that you feel pressure, you're just falling apart is because it's about to get better. And the trick is to not succumb to that. Because at the end of the day, the opposite of something being bad is it gets better. You know what I mean? But you have to see it the right way. And so I think that's so perspective is so important. Because a lot of things are not going to be pleasant when you're going through them. But if you see it the right way, you're able to get on the other side of it.
Okay, so you just said a lot. So we're talking about habits, we're talking about mindset, and we're talking about perspective. And using those three tools to keep you in line with your source and moving you forward and being able to turn what is perceived to be a negative situation to your benefit or a positive or be even the thing that takes you to that next level.
Yeah, because I think that the question that we have to start to ask ourselves is not why is this happening to me, but what is this teaching me? You understand? Because some lessons have to be learned through pain. Some lessons have to be learned through discomfort. And so when you see it the right way, you're not reactive, you're proactive. And that's the approach you always have to be in to grow.
Okay. So what's a situation where you've had to put this into practice in your own life, whether it's, a time you got knocked down, whether it's a time where, business wasn't going the way, and what did that particular experience teach you, if you're okay with going into that?
I'm cool with it, man. I'm just thankful. Like, I really am thankful. Like, I've been very blessed during this pandemic, very fortunate over the last couple of years. But, I've been in LA going on 8 years actually in November, and it hasn't always been smooth. I moved out here to launch a music TV network, worked there for a long time. And then, one day I legitimately went to lunch, came back to work and got laid off unexpectedly. You know what I mean? And literally had to
Wow.
redefine my whole existence here in LA, as from being, a dope event producer that went to Revolt and was the guy at Revolt doing my thing and killing stuff, to, man, what am I going to do now? You know what I mean? To getting back into entertainment, independently and starting two businesses and doing it on my own and learning that, there was strength and power in, what I brought to the table even before I came to that platform, even before I came to LA. And just going through that, man, I dealt with, I was homeless for a period of time. I was sleeping in my car for a period of time. It was times where I didn't have enough money to pay my rent. It was times where I didn't have enough money to eat. But at the end of the day, all of these situations prepared me for the position I'm in today. You know what I mean? It's one thing to do well, to start businesses, to be up. But for me, like, I never experienced poverty till I was over 30. You know what I mean? My entire life. You know what I mean? So to experience that at that point in the game, it would make the average person fold. You know what I mean? But what it did was it brought a lot out of me. It really forced me to not rely on my intelligence, not rely on my connects, my resources. I had to connect to God, and I had to tap in, and I had to really understand, purpose and what I was here for. You know what I mean? And once you align with that purpose and you really connect, you're able to hone in. And then at that point, all you need is a small opportunity, a small foot in the door, and you're able to get yourself back on your feet. So I'm just I'm just thankful, man. And I say all that to say that, like, if you haven't lived in LA and you haven't been homeless, if you haven't, had a best friend switch up on you, if you haven't had a certain person that, a couch you thought you could sleep on and then it didn't happen for you, like you wouldn't be in LA. Like, everybody's going through that. Like, you'd be surprised how many people that we would consider successful from the outside looking in have similar stories. And in those moments, it's not about, were you not capable of being, was I not capable of being where I am right now when I was going through that? No, I was, but I had to experience it, to allow me to have a certain level of humility as I elevate and as I go where I'm going. You know what I mean? And I think that's important because, I don't want to show everybody the finished product. You feel what I'm saying? Like you got to know a struggle. You got to know that on the other side of that couch you sleeping on, or your car, or you driving Lyft every day to pay the rent, or delivering Postmates, on the other side of that, you can make it and you can do what you want to do, how you want to do it unapologetically, and you just have to keep hold of the vision. Because at the end of the day, when you have it here and you have it here, it's only a matter of time before it manifests. And so that's my story when it comes to that. It's not always been all good, but I'm thankful for where I'm at now.
Yo, that is so crazy. Just listening to your story, you're right, because I saw myself. Like, I literally had almost the exact same experience that you had just described. Now, this is not about me, so I'm not going to go into that right now, but it's just so powerful hearing your story and your perspective of when you came out here, and you said you were working with Revolt and you were helping build them up, and then you go to lunch one day and you come back and you're like, thank you for investing in us, thank you for building us up, but it's not your time here anymore. And so we appreciate you, but now you have to leave with nothing. And you got to find out who you are from that point, because the world is testing you constantly. And so just thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for just being so open with us, because I think that there's a lot of people who will potentially listen to this recording and maybe get that strength while they're going through their phase in that, because it's definitely something that hits a lot of creative people. It hits a lot of people who has a dream, that people who don't necessarily believe in them and don't see the vision, but they see the vision and they're going out in the world and making it happen.
And the moral of the story, which goes back to why I feel like ownership is so important. You own your own team. Play for the team you own. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, nobody can ever take that from you.
Amen.
You can't show up. You're not going to fire me from my own company. I can't show up one day you decide it just doesn't make sense for your bottom line if I own it. So at the end of the day, you always want to make sure that you soak up this, learn the systems, get the relationships, learn the processes, learn how to do stuff the right way. Keep all the good stuff from working in these corporate institutions, but reinvest that time and energy into building your own, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to take care of you better than you.
For sure. That reminds me of the Tyler Perry speech that he gave the other, I forget what award he was accepting, but he was preaching that ownership is definitely the way. Now, you may have to go and learn someone's systems at first, but that end goal should always be to own your name, who you are, what you're building, and your company, and build a team around that. And oh, go ahead. Were you about to say something real quick, Chris?
Indeed, man. I agree with you. So I agree with you there for sure.
So let's say, let's step out of Chris real quick. And Chris, let's say you're like an entertainer. Whether it's you're a singer, you're an actor, you're a DJ, you're creating content somewhere, and you're just getting started. You don't have a following. You're talented, but people don't know you're talented yet, and you definitely don't got dollars backing you yet. How would you get started in your journey so you can, get to that level you want to be?
The first thing you got to do is you got to have a vision. So again, we talked about, pick your target, find those people that you say are on the level that you want to be on in your discipline. Once you find those individuals, write down the qualities and the things that they have that are going on outside of them being popular that allow them to be dope in their space, and start to, develop your skill set to hone these things. While you're doing this, record your process. Content is king. So at the end of the day, if you're an amazing person in whatever your discipline is, you got to show that. And you got to show your development, because at the end, people buy into you. If you're selling a product, a service, music, whatever the case may be, they'll buy into you. And because they buy into you, they're going to buy into what you represent, and they're going to buy into what you produce. And so I think those are two very key things. And just constantly study and constantly be a student of what you're doing and how to take it to the next level. And I think those three things will allow you to get started and start to generate some traction and just start to build.
That's awesome advice right there. I'm not going to even try to follow that up with a question. I think this is a great place, to stop, have people, there's a lot of information that was in this interview that's very, applicable, that you can take action on today. So I would just want to thank you for coming in, Chris. And before we go, where can people find you? If people want to tap in with you, do business with you, or follow you, maybe see you as a digital mentor and learn from you, how do people, see you and get in contact with you?
For sure. So if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me through Instagram at Chris_Roy, or you can go to my website at thelifestyle.co.
Okay.
So Chris_Roy on Instagram, or my website, thelifestyle.co.
Okay. You heard that. So Chris_Roy, and not lifestyle.co. It's thelifestyle.co for everyone out there.
Yes.
.co. Okay. And so last question, Chris. What can we expect from you going forward? Do you have anything coming up? Anything that we can get excited about?
Yeah, man. Stay tuned. We're doing a big annual dinner that I do for Thanksgiving every year. It's a Friendsgiving dinner where we raise money for the less fortunate. We put some funds together, collect some resources. Typically go out Thanksgiving morning and pass out food and plates in the Hollywood area. But we're going to have a dinner, bring some friends together. I'm kind of, it's going to be a sponsored event, and that's going to be a vibe. So stay tuned for that. And then we have some other really cool activations coming up. So we'll be doing stuff all over the holidays, some dope stuff for the culture. And we're also going to be giving back, and there's going to be purpose on everything that I'm doing for the rest of this year. So just stay tuned.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So thank you again, Chris, for coming in, for speaking with us, for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom. And everyone go follow Chris and just stay tapped in. And, we'll see you going forward.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.
All right.